Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Gilda's Club. I am Kelly Hendershot, the program director, and with me is Pamela Crouch, the executive director at Living Proof Exhibit. And we are back for another virtual creative session. Again, we are doing these weekly until we are able to bring activities safely back to our clubhouse in Davenport. If you ever would like to join these via Zoom, where you'll have an easier way to interact and engage with Pamela, there is a link in this video description on how you can register for future sessions. So I'll go ahead and turn things over to Pamela.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. We've been doing these sessions with things that you have around the house. And so today we're going to be making clay. It's pretty easy. It's a little complicated, by the way. I'm looking at this as a setup and it's like, how do they do this with those cooking shows? It's like, oh, well, they probably have multiple cameras, not just a camera here on the computer. So Kelly has a recipe, but it's pretty simple. Baking soda and cornstarch. You need 2 cups of baking soda and a cup of cornstarch. And then a cup and a half of water. I've already put in a heavy duty pan, I've already put the cornstarch and the baking soda. So I'm going to add the water. That's it. Well, we have to cook it. So put it on a medium heat. And I highly recommend stirring it. I forgot to stir it one time and it kind of stuck to the bottom of the pan. Another reason that to use a heavy duty pan, when you mix it all up, at first it's going to seem very gloppy and goopy, and then eventually it's going to smooth down a little bit. You're going to want to keep stirring it. I'm going to take a few minutes and just stir this to kind of get it all mixed up together. And I'm going to, while it's cooking a little bit, I'll take the chance that it won't stick to the bottom of the pan and kind of show you a few things. What's nice about this particular homemade clay, and we did make this at Gilda's Club, it was really nice to have their kitchen there, so we were able to make it. But what's nice about this is that when it dries to a nice, beautiful white clay. So it's almost like a porcelain clay. And you can paint it. All you need to do is it has to dry for at least 2 days. And then you can just use acrylic paints to paint it. My kids, I've used this clay recipe for years. My kids are all grown. But I still have some of their projects that they made. They made little snowmen when they were little. Very easy. Just 2 little balls of this clay. They sit right on top of each other. It will give you a hint. If something falls apart, a little Gorilla Glue or a little white glue of some kind, it always works great. I'm going to let that cook. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'll show you a couple of things. If you have kids or grandkids, again, here we are in June. We're not doing a lot. Let's get those Christmas presents taken care of. I had my granddaughter make this several years ago. What's nice about this is that you can see, well, I can see her lines of her hand in this. You also notice though, it's not perfect up here because it's going to be flat. If you get a big piece like this, whoa, things are boiling. If you get a big piece like this, it's hard to poke a hole in it and hang it. It'll be too heavy to hang. However, I'm ready to turn my heat down a little bit. That's surprising. What you can do is with cookie cutters, or this was done freehand. I made a necklace. It's just painted with gold metallic acrylic paint. And this one, oh, I'm boiling over here. My goodness, it's pretty quick. You can use stamps on this and stamp into the clay when it's wet and then let it dry. That's what I did with this necklace. You can maybe see that there's a dragonfly stamped in there, and then I painted it the blue, and then I dry brushed the gold over it. Those are just 2 simple necklaces. And when I talk about stamps, I literally just mean those stamps that you get. Mine are full of ink, but here's like a little cupcake. What's nice is that it will make a nice little indentation in the clay. You do that when the clay is wet, like I said, and then you let it dry. if you're going to try to make a Christmas ornament or make a necklace, make sure that while it's wet, you take a toothpick and you make a hole in the clay that you're going to be hanging. Um, the hole shouldn't be too close to the top because it will break through. This is a very sturdy clay. Like I said, I have some pieces that are 20 years old from my kids. Yes, I'm one of those people. I keep things that my kids made me and bring them out. I try to bring them out at Christmas and the holidays, so I don't have them sitting out all the time. But you can do so many things. And here's a little bunny that I made. How simple is this? Just a little fat ball for the bottom and then one for the head. Of course, he has to have a tail. Made a couple of ears that all just stuck together, and then I let it dry for a long time. And then I glued. I had to glue it back on. His ear fell off, so I glued it back on. And these are just fun crafts. One thing, and I didn't show you the back of that necklace. If I can get this to behave, I will. This dough needs to be kneaded. Not Needed, which we all need, but the KN, like you're kneading bread. Because if you don't, this is what happens. You see this lovely crack on the back of this? This is why this is my necklace, not somebody else's. If you don't knead this until it's smooth, you will end up with cracks. And if you end up with cracks, then you have to fill them, and it's just a hassle. Plus, things don't stay together very well if they're cracked. So it's a heads up on that. That once this is completed, and right now it's a milky, I can't see this, it's lumpy and milky at the same time. So we want to get it to a point where I can't stir it anymore. And then it has to cool down just a little bit. What's great about this though is once it cools down and you do the kneading of it, then you can store it in plastic wrap. Don't put it in it will dry out if you put it in Tupperware. Otherwise, if you do plastic wrap, you can seal the air out from it. So then you can do multiple projects. This one little batch showed 2 cups of baking soda and 1 cup of cornstarch and 1.5 cups of water will make several projects. If you want to make Christmas ornaments, it's pretty easy. Again, kind of keeping an eye on this as I'm reaching back here. I have a lot of cookie cutters. I have a lot of cookie cutters like this. You can see they're open all the way through. Those are the ones that I recommend because as cute as this cookie cutter is, and he is adorable, you will never get the clay out of that guy. So look for the cookie cutters that are more open. Again, watch the size too, because some of the cookie cutters that I have are monstrous cookies, which are delicious and fabulous, and they're really kind of challenging. When you roll this out, just use your good old-fashioned rolling pin and whatever, pretend you're rolling out pie crust. Roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch. If you get it any thinner than that, it will crack break. And again, go back and glue it. But if when you roll it out, just do like you're rolling out sugar cookies. That's all it is. And you can, the kids can do this. It's pretty simple. And then you can, once they're dry, you can paint them. Make sure you put a little hole in the top of it so that you can then thread some string through it or some pretty ribbon. These are perfect for Christmas gifts because what grandparent doesn't like to pull out a Christmas ornament? Or you could do a simple necklace like I did. The same idea that, okay, this is starting to look kind of fluffy now. So it still needs to go back on because I can still stir it, but it's getting closer. It's going to get really, really thick. So we kind of went from smushy. Oh, heads up, when you pour the powder in, if you're like me, you get powder everywhere. So just be aware of it. This isn't the neatest project, and it's getting a little harder for me to stir. So we are almost ready. It's really important to remember this is super hot. So if you are doing this project, you have to make sure that you let it cool down. my dog just wandered in. Cooper the Wonder Dog. You've heard him before. I don't think you've actually met him yet. But he figures Mom is working in the kitchen and working on the stove, so it must be something fun. All right, that's all it is. That's how quick I made this clay. Now it's scalding hot, so I have to let it cool. I'm not sure that we're going to take the time for me to let this cool and roll out. But when I do, here's what I do. Look at this. Again, how do these professionals do it in their kitchen? You'll just wrap it in plastic wrap. What I found is that it's a pretty big amount. I divide it into thirds and I wrap it. I've also been known to use the wrapping. Sometimes I'm in a hurry, maybe. And sometimes what I'll do is wrap it and then kind of squish it and count that as kneading. Sometimes that's why I end up with cracks in the back of my necklaces. But if you wait and are patient, then it cools pretty quickly. It's a balance of finding when is it cool enough to use before it gets too dry. And that's something of an experiment a little bit to do. Keep in mind that when you're working with this, it's baking soda, so your hands are going to get a little dry. Just wash up. It's all, baking soda and cornstarch. So we're pretty easy peasy on this one. It's going to be a little bit before, still hot. Okay, I was just testing, but it's going to be a little warm. Let me see if I can do, oh goody. Guess what happened on my saran wrap? The little metal place that should tear got broken. This is fun. Excuse me while I find my scissors.
So Pamela, I have a question.
Yes.
That took maybe 10 minutes to make, and you said it doesn't take much time to cool. So do you have suggestions for someone who's impatient like I am or would be in this process? Would I just kind of occasionally keep touching it to make sure it's cool to the touch, or should I set a timer?
Well, check it to see. What I just did was put some of it, because I'm trying to hurry the process a little. Right now, if I hold this in my hand for any length of time, I'm going to scald my hand. How impatient are you, Kelly? We need to get you could if you need to. I am just going to, it is a little cool. I don't want to put it in the refrigerator. I don't want to put anything like that because it'll cool down too quickly. So kind of doing this a little faster than I normally should, quite frankly. So we're gonna use the handy dandy little mitt, and this is in saran wrap right now. I'm just squishing it to see if I can't get it to be kneaded a little bit. Ordinarily, I would put it out and I would knead it like I would knead bread dough. Those of you who make pies, you kind of know how to do that. So this is still really warm, but in an effort to kind of show you, I'm just going to take a simple, that's all I'm doing. This is now officially the head of a snowman or a bunny. Or you can flatten it just by using your hand. And then if you've got small children, put their thumbprint in here. How cute would that be to have little thumbprints hanging all over the place? When you flatten it just with your hands, you're going to have an uneven edge. If you want a more even edge, then roll it out. And I'm going to put a little cupcake in the middle of this. Now you can, I did it in a hurry. So you also get my thumbprints in there. And there it is. So you can kind of see that I did the little imprint. By rolling it, I get a smoother edge. If this was bigger, you could do the cookie cutters, roll it out, and do your cookie cutters. To get that leaf design, all I did was just cut a shape of a leaf. But this is a nice thick little piece here. It's already, by the way, already cool to the touch. So yeah, this is all already, well, it's still warm while I'm holding it. Huh. But other than that, it's pretty cool to the touch. It doesn't take much time. If you're working with kids, make sure that you don't hand them the clay until it is completely cool to the touch for you. Otherwise, it will burn. That's the only concern, is if you're working with kids. But I've done this with my grandkids. I've done this with my kids, and that's all you need to do. Now I'm making like a little divot. It's like, huh, that's kind of cute. Plus, even if you don't make anything, this is a really smooth clay, and it's kind of fun to squish. So I'm very tactile today. I think that's about it, Kelly. I really can't show how to paint it beyond this. But if anybody has any questions,
I do have one more quick question then. Because this is something I do want to try at home. I'm thinking about making a dog paw print for my dog.
Okay.
And it took less than 5 minutes for it to cool, the amount that you made. So that's nice. How do you wait for it to harden before you paint it? Or is it still kind of malleable when you paint it?
Yeah. It will harden in 1 to 2 days, just air temperature. If you're going to be doing like a paw print or something, make sure that you put it on parchment paper on a flat cookie sheet or something. And if you're going to do a paw print or a child hand print or anything, really make sure. This is completely cool right now, and I can still smush it. Make sure it's completely cool, otherwise your puppy will not be happy. So you really want to make it completely cool. And I just been keep working with this thing while I'm talking to you, and my hands are getting a little baking soda on them, but not too bad. Any other questions, Kelly?
Nope, I think I asked all mine.
Okay. Well, I want to let everyone know that we have a creative writing session. Ryan Collins came to Gilda's Club in early March before we had to close everything down. And he's doing another session virtually. And this is in partnership with the Muscatine Arts Center. But I know so many people at Gilda's Club really love working with Ryan. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about that. And then we have a flower pot session coming up in June. And that information is on our website, livingproofexhibit.org. We're trying to do things that people can either come in person starting in June, limited people, or we can also do this still virtually. You can pick up materials, work on it, and return it. It's kind of exciting that we're going to be creating and designing flower pots that will be then in the shape of a ribbon. And this, Kelly, we talked about this previously. It was going to be a planter box in the shape of a ribbon. This allows us to still do the spirit of the ribbon flower with flowers representing different cancers. Your flower pots can be designed and representing a lot of different people. And then we hope to be able to move these flower pots to different places. Because now we can do this. This is a socially distant variation of what we were hoping to do. So we're really excited that we get to do it. Check out our website, livingproofexhibit.org, our Facebook, Living Proof Exhibit. We also have a YouTube, Living Proof Exhibit on YouTube. I don't know what the channel name is. Google that on YouTube, you'll find it. Some of our friends who are artists are having conversations and sharing music and sharing some of the ways that they do some of the art, which is always kind of fun. That's it, Kelly. I've got a perfect little square now. Oh, you can make little beads too and do jewelry if you want to.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. And the YouTube channel that Pamela mentioned, this video will also be on that later today. We also post all of the creative sessions on our website at gildasclubhusc.org/education. So lots of places to refer back to these videos. So thank you again, Pamela, and we'll see everybody next week.